Did pioneers have pets? Like the answer's a simple yes or no, like I either had a little furry something to spoil or I was too busy starving to bother. The truth is stranger than that, and you won't like the first half of it. Out here, there was almost no such thing as a pet as you call them, and yet an animal out here could be loved past all reason, past sleep, past sense, past what it costs to keep. Both of those are true at the same time, and by the time I'm done, you'll understand why. I'm Annie. I buried my husband on the trail out to this land, and I've kept this place since with my own two hands, and with whatever animals would work beside me. So I know exactly what an animal can be to a person out here. Start with the dog, because if there was one animal in this place that came closest to what you'd call a pet, it was him. And even he had a job before he had a name. A good frontier dog was the first thing awake and the last thing asleep. He heard the wolf at the tree line before I did. He heard the stranger on the road a full minute before he came into sight, and out here, a minute's warning was sometimes the whole difference. He pushed the cattle where they needed to go. He treed or cornered the game so we could eat. He walked behind the wagon, not in it, behind it, for hundreds of miles, mile after mile on torn-up paths, just to stay with his people. At night, when the cold came down and the cabin went dark, he lay across the children's feet and kept them warm and kept the rats off them and kept the dark a little less frightening. You tell me that's not a pet. I'll tell you he was more than a pet. He was a hand that worked for nothing but scraps and stayed for nothing but us. And when a dog like that died, and they did die, to wolves, to snakes, to the cold, to the work, we buried him, and grown men who wouldn't weep at a funeral wept at that. Half the journals and letters out of this country mention a dog by name. Not the plow, not the wagon, the dog. People who had almost nothing took the time to write down the name of the animal so the rest of us would know he'd lived. That tells you something. Now, the cat. The cat is a different story, and it's funnier than you'd think. You picture a barn cat as the cheapest thing on the farm. Out here at first, a cat was nearly the dearest. They didn't come west on their own 4 feet. Somebody had to haul them. And for a good while, there just weren't enough to go around. There's a town up in the goldfields where the story goes, a sharp fellow loaded a whole wagon with house cats and hauled them in to sell and charged $15, $20, $25 a head for them. $25 for a cat! That was a month of working man's wages, more for a creature whose entire purpose was to sit in a granary and murder mice. And folks paid it. They paid it gladly, until some enterprising soul busted open the rest of the wagon one night and set every last cat loose, and within a year the town was hip deep in kittens, and the bottom fell out of the cat market entirely. But you see why they paid. A cabin without a cat was a cabin feeding half its grain to mice. Everything I put up for the winter, the cornmeal, the dried beans, the seed for next year's crop, the seed especially, because you cannot eat next year if the mice eat your seed. All of it sat in sacks and barrels that a mouse could chew through in a night. The cat was the difference between a full bin in February and an empty one. So yes, the children named them. Yes, they curled up by the hearth and got the scrappings off the plates. But nobody fed a cat that wouldn't hunt for long. Love and use. Hold on to that. Love and use all tangled up together. I keep coming back to it, and there's a reason. Because here's where you really start to feel it. The horse. Now you'd think, surely the horse was the pet of pets, the proud thing, the animal a family loved best. And the truth is, we did love the horse best, or near to it, but you would never, ever have heard me call him a pet. It'd have been an insult. A pet is a thing you keep for the pleasure of keeping it. And out here, not one of us could afford a single animal kept for pleasure alone. Not one. We did not have the grain to spare. We did not have the barn room to spare. And we did not have the life to spare for a creature that only took and never gave. The horse was loved precisely because he worked, because he broke the ground and he hauled the wagon, and carried my husband 20 miles for the doctor through weather that should have killed them both. You loved him the way you love a partner who carries his half of an impossible load. And when he came up lame or went down in traces, it wasn't sentiment you felt first. It was fear. Because losing the horse could lose you the farm. And that brings me to the thing children are always asking for. The thing maybe you're asking. What about a pony? A little horse just for the young ones, just to love? No, almost never. I know that's a hard thing to hear. A pony eats like a horse and works like a quarter of one. And a frontier family ran its numbers tighter than you can imagine. Every mouth on the place, 2-legged or 4, had to earn what it ate. If a child out here had a pony, I promise you that pony hauled water, or ran messages between farms, or herded the sheep, or packed the little ones to the schoolhouse 5 miles off. It earned its hay. The child loved it like life itself, but the love came riding in alongside the work. It was never instead of work. There was no instead out here. That was the whole arithmetic of our lives. So if you're keeping score, it's looking grim, isn't it? No pets. Everything works or it's gone. You'd think we were hard, cold people who looked at an animal and saw nothing but a tool. You'd be wrong. Let me tell you about the children's animals, because this is where the whole thing turns over. A frontier child's first love was almost never a dog or a horse. It was something smaller and stranger and entirely their own. A toddler with his arms around the neck of a pet pig, like it was a pony. A girl who trained a turkey to pull a little cart. A boy who tamed a raccoon kit, a fox kit, a fawn, whatever the wilderness orphaned that spring. A calf the child raised by hand and brushed till it shone, and showed off to every soul who came up the road. The whole backyard of these children was a wilderness, and they filled it with creatures the way town children fill a room with toys. And every single one of those children learned the hardest lesson this country had to teach, and they learned it young. Because the pig they loved, the pig they named, the pig that followed them around the yard, come the cold weather, that pig was the winter's meat. The calf they raised got sold, or it got bred, or it joined the herd. The animal a child loved with its whole heart was very often the same animal that would feed the family or fund it. I have watched a child sob over a slaughtered hog in the morning and eat at the table that night, because most of those things were simply true, and a frontier child had to hold both of them at once before they were 10 years old. We didn't shield them from it. We couldn't. The shield is a luxury, same as the pony. It cost more than we had. And yet they kept loving the next one anyway. Every spring, the next orphan, the next kit, the next lamb. The lamb. Let me end where the whole word begins. When a ewe died lambing, or threw a lamb she couldn't feed or wouldn't feed, that orphan came into the house. Into the house, by the stove, in a box, getting up every few hours through the night to feed it warm milk off a rag or a bottle, the way you'd tend a sick child. We called those orphans bummer lambs, and we called them something else, something older. We called them pet lambs. That's the part nobody remembers. Long before that word meant some fine lady's lapdog riding in a carriage. Long before it meant the spoiled, useless, beloved little creature you keep today, a pet, meant exactly one thing out on the land. An orphaned animal that a person kept alive by hand, through cold nights at real cost, when every hard rule of survival that should have let it die. The first pet was never a thing you bought for your pleasure. It was a thing you saved when you didn't have to. So did pioneers have pets? Not the way you mean it. We could not afford one single animal that was only loved and never useful. Not a cat, not a horse, not a pony, not one. By your definition, the answer is almost no. But we sat up all night with a dying lamb that owed us nothing. We wrote a dog's name into the family record beside the births and the deaths. We grieved a horse like we grieved kin. We let our children love a pig they'd one day have to eat, and we let them love the next one after that. We didn't love our animals in spite of the work they did. We love them because of it. Because out here, the thing that worked beside you and kept you alive and asked you nothing but scraps and a warm place by the fire was the truest companion a person could have. You've got it backwards, is all. You think a pet is an animal with no job. Out here, the job was the love.